Prime Minister Narendra Modi's cabinet has been completely overhauled after last evening's shuffle exercise in a big shake-up. A number of key portfolios, we're talking about health, law, information and technology, railways, all of them have gone to new ministers and junior ministers who are elevated in the Prime Minister's Council of Ministers. The total strength now of the Council of Ministers is at 78. Several of the big names, that includes the likes of Ravi Shankar Prasad, Dr. Harshvardhan, Ramesh Pokhriyal, Santosh Gangwar, Prakash Javadekar, they're out of the cabinet now. Mansukh Mandviya has been picked to replace Harshvardhan as the health minister as the country braces for a possible third wave. Kiran Rejig and Anurag Thakur have been elevated to cabinet rank. They've been given the Law Ministry and INB Ministry respectively. What about Jyotiraditya Scindia? He's among the prominent new faces in the cabinet. He's going to be helming the Aviation Ministry. So those are in fact the portfolios. It was announced late last night after the reshuffle and after 43 ministers were part of the swearing-in exercise last evening. Now several big names that have made it, all of whom have been promoted, many of whom in fact have been promoted to cabinet rank based on their work in the last few years. Besides that, you also had several new faces who there will be a lot of focus on this morning. And let's get you all the big headlines, the big takeaways from the announcements that came in late last night. First is that 30 ministers will be handling a total of 53 union ministries. This is after the swearing-in ceremony yesterday. There's a big focus clearly on creating synergy within ministries. That's something that the Prime Minister stressed on time and again. With this reshuffle, he's put the focus again on that issue. Essentially, any common domain, if there are ministries that have something in common or have to work together, they've been clubbed. For example, you've got the railways and the IT ministry that's been clubbed. Now, 3 ministers of states, MOS, have been appointed to handle home affairs alone. And that's a very interesting development because it means that the government wants to focus particularly on this aspect. Amit Shah is going to be handling the newly formed Cooperation Ministry. This was a ministry that was formed some time back, a few days ago. The announcement was made by the government because they said that this will ensure smoother functioning of the government as well. So those are the 5 big headlines from the cabinet reshuffle that took place last evening. But is it really a reshuffle? It's a complete overhaul. The new team Modi has younger faces. The average age right now of the cabinet has been brought down to 58. And here's a report on exactly what the Modi cabinet makeover looks like.
Arrival of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has overhauled his team. In selecting his squad, the Prime Minister has dropped a few heavyweights and opted for a new mix of experience, younger faces and political viability. But more than that, the new faces, the reshuffle is making headlines for the big exits. Dr. Harshvardhan, who handled health, is out. The first admission from the Modi government of shortcomings in COVID management during the deadly second wave. Ravi Shankar Prasad, the law, IT and the telecom minister, also goes. He was recently caught in a face-off with social media giant Twitter. As Law Minister, he had piloted the controversial Citizenship Amendment Act.
According to that calculation,
also out is the Environment Minister and the Information Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar.
Government into
And Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal. Amongst the new faces in is Jyotiraditya Scindia from Madhya Pradesh, rewarded for bringing down the Kamal Nath government and installing a BJP government there. Narayan Rane, the strongman from Maharashtra. Sarbananda Sonowal, the former Assam Chief Minister. And Bhupendra Yadav, the organizational heavyweight from Haryana. The Prime Minister has picked a few wild cards. Former IS officer from Odisha, Ashwini Vaishnav, who holds an MBA from Wharton School and MTech from IIT Kanpur. Industrialist Rajiv Chandrasekhar from Karnataka. Dr. Munjapada Mahendra Bhai, a cardiologist from Gujarat. But all are practicing politicians, no outsider technocrats have been brought in. The entire exercise undertaken keeping politics in mind. So there are 7 new ministers from Uttar Pradesh, the state which goes to polls in the next few months. 4 from Bengal, where the party is restive following the crushing it got in the assembly polls. And 4 from Maharashtra, where the BJP hopes to break the Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi at some point. Prime Minister Modi has done some social engineering as well. The average age of the government is down from 61 to 58. There are 27 OBCs now in this ministry, 12 Dalit ministers and 8 tribals.
The Union Council of Ministers.
Modi Cabinet 2.0 has a completely new look and face. The inclusion of the new ministers has taken the number of SCs, STs and OBCs to significant proportion of the Union Council of Ministers. The messaging is very clear. The thrust is on the inclusion of more members of the backward and marginalized sections of society, those representing them. It remains to be seen now if the political messaging has been on point and if it turns out to be a vote catcher for the Bharatiya Janata Party. With camera person Anurag Saxena, Polami Saha in Delhi for India Today.
So the swearing in of the newly inducted ministers took place at the Rashtrapati Bhavan last evening in the Prime Minister's presence as well. As many as 43 ministers took oath in the Union Cabinet expansion. Here are all the details about the big winners and the big losers.
मैं किरण रिजिजू ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित.
It was a mega mantri reshuffle by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, full of surprises and high-profile exits.
देश के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों.
There are big winners and big losers in this stunning overhaul.
मैं मनसुख मांडविया ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ कि
Mansukh Mandavia, Rajya Sabha MP from Gujarat, has been promoted. He will now hold the key portfolio of health and medical education, replacing Dr. Harshvardhan. He will now lead the country's war on coronavirus.
मैं किरण रिजिजू ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ.
Kiran Rejig, previously the Minister of State for Youth Welfare and Sports, has been promoted to cabinet rank. Rejig now gets Ministry of Law and Justice, which was earlier with Ravi Shankar Prasad.
जब भी और जहां भी जो हमको जिम्मेदारी दिया जाएगा वो जिम्मेदारी को हम दिल से एक तपस्या करके हम लोगों के लिए काम करते रहेंगे.
मैं अनुराग सिंह ठाकुर ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ.
Minister of State Finance Anurag Thakur too has got plum ministries after his elevation to cabinet rank. He now will hold the portfolio of Information and Broadcasting, previously held by Prakash Javadekar. Thakur also gets the charge of Youth Affairs and Sports Ministry. His promotion in the Modi government also comes in the wake of the upcoming assembly elections in his home state, Himachal Pradesh.
मैं आभारी माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का, पार्टी के वरिष्ठ नेताओं का, माननीय राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष जी का, माननीय गृह मंत्री जी का, जिन्होंने जिम्मेदारी दी है. मैं प्रयास करूंगा कि उनकी आशाओं के अनुरूप काम कर सकूं.
I, Hardeep Singh Puri, do swear in the name of God.
Hardeep Singh Puri, the Sikh face in Modi government, has been promoted as cabinet minister. He will now be the Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, the portfolio which was earlier with Dharmendra Pradhan. He will also hold the portfolio of Housing and Urban Affairs.
मैं श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से.
The BJP's Telangana face and Minister of State Home, G. Kishan Reddy, also got a promotion.
सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा.
Reddy, now a cabinet minister, will hold the portfolios of culture and development of northeastern region.
नरेंद्र मोदी साहब जो भी जिम्मेदारी देते हैं वो डेडिकेशन के साथ, डिसिप्लिन के साथ, डेवलपमेंट के साथ और काम करने वाले हैं.
मैं परसोत्तम खोड़ाभाई रूपाला ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो.
Purushottam Rupala was the Minister of State for Panchayati Raj, Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Hailing from Gujarat, he will now hold the portfolio of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy.
मैं राजकुमार सिंह
ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा
R.K. Singh, earlier, MOS, Power, New and Renewable Energy, Skill Development and Entrepreneurship gets full cabinet rank. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has undertaken a total overhaul of his ministry. The reshuffle that comes at the halfway mark of his second term sets the stage for course correction ahead of UP polls and the big elections in 2024. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, the Prime Minister's big cabinet rejig comes with a major change because the government has handed over 53 portfolios to 30 ministers. The charge of sectors pertaining to similar domains have been given to the same minister, with independent charge to 2 MOS for bringing synergy also in the portfolios. Ashwini Vaishnav has been given, for example, the charge of information and technology along with the Railways Ministry. Charge of health, chemicals and fertilizers is given to Mansukh Mandviya to synergize health and medicine. Now, Piyush Goyal has been given the Ministry of Textiles, Commerce and Industries for boosting export-oriented sectors. Dharmendra Pradhan gets Education and Skill Development Ministry catering to the youth of the nation. The Urban Housing Ministry has been clubbed with the Petroleum Ministry to ensure an environment-friendly approach, and that's been handed over to Hardeep Singh Puri. The Prime Minister, of course, dropped that big bombshell last evening where the IT and Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad as well as the INB Minister Prakash Javadekar resigned. Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan too had quit. In total, 12 sitting ministers have been shown the door.
3 key ministers who were face of the Narendra Modi government. From press briefings to television interviews to social media. Prakash Javadekar, Dr. Harshvardhan and Ravi Shankar Prasad were the Modi Sarkar's voice. All 3 now served the pink slip in a dramatic turn of events. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan was already in the line of fire over COVID mishandling. He had a tough time after the deadly second wave swept India, forcing Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself to step in at a time when people gasped for oxygen and hospitals ran out of beds. But the biggest surprise is Ravi Shankar Prasad's exit. He held the key portfolios of law, information and technology and communication. Prasad, as a Minister of Information and Technology, was caught in a bitter face-off with Twitter over the new IT rules. His law ministry framed the Citizenship Amendment Bill. And as Communication Minister, he was unable to take the telecom sector out of legal quagmires. Prakash Javadekar was the Union Minister for Information and Broadcasting. He also held the crucial portfolios of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Ramesh Pokhriyal, Union Education Minister, resigned citing health grounds. After recovering from the virus, he has been suffering from the long COVID syndrome. But his resignation could be linked to CBSE board exams mess. The BJP's Bengal-faced Babul Supriyo, MOS Environment, has lost out possibly after the disastrous showing by the BJP in the assembly elections there. Thawarchand Gehlot, Social Justice and Empowerment Minister, was appointed Karnataka Governor on Tuesday. Others who were shown the exit sign are Debashri Chaudhary, Sadanand Gowda, Santosh Gangwar, Sanjay Dhotre, Ratanlal Kataria and Pratap Sarangi. The Modi government's reshuffle was expected to bring in fresh faces, but it proved to be a total overhaul. Bureau Report, India Today.
News coming in of 4 terrorists being neutralized in 2 encounters in South Kashmir. One encounter broke out early between security forces and terrorists in Kulgam, where 2 terrorists are believed to have been killed. Another in Pulwama, where 2 terrorists again have been neutralized. In the last 24 hours, 5 terrorists have been killed, because yesterday we saw one Hizbul commander being killed in Handwara. So a series of successful operations for our forces. Some of these encounters are still taking place, but so far 5 terrorists have been neutralized in a matter of 24 hours. Overnight, 2 have been killed in Kulgam, 2 in Pulwama as well. Based on specific intel, our forces conducted these operations. Some of them are still underway, but this comes as a huge win in the fight against terror.